Today's read aloud is called Little Bear Goes Hunting. Let's go over some vocabulary words. Our first word is finally. Say finally. Finally means last, at the end. Horizon. Say horizon. Horizon is the place off in the distance where the land appears to meet the sky. Hunting party. Say hunting party. A hunting party is a group of people who hunt together. Succulent. Say succulent. Succulent means juicy and tasty. What do you see in this picture? That's right, those are buffalo. Buffalo traveled across the Great Plains in herds or groups. The buffalo had to move across the plains in search of their food supply, grass. As the buffalo traveled to find their food supply, the Native American tribes who hunted the buffalo followed them. So wherever the buffalo went, the Native American tribes that hunted the buffalo went with them. Today you will hear more about the Lakota Sioux and about a young Lakota Sioux boy named Little Bear. I want you to listen carefully to find out more about the Lakota Sioux people and buffalo hunting. Little Bear Goes Hunting. Little Bear woke up before the sun did. Today was a very important day. Now that Little Bear was 10 years old, he would be allowed to hunt the buffalo. Little Bear was not frightened. He was excited, even though a buffalo can weigh as much as 10 grown men. Little Bear was a Lakota Sioux Indian. He lived in the Great Plains with his family. This area, called a plain, was fairly flat and filled with grass and buffalo. So here the word plain describes a part of the United States where the land is flat and has a lot of grass, but very few trees. His home was wherever his family and their group of relatives placed their teepees, and that depended on the buffalo. So where Little Bear and his family lived depended on the buffalo. The buffalo lived on the Great Plains too. However, large herds of buffalo moved from place to place. They moved as they grazed on the wild grasses that grow across this wide stretch of land. Because the buffalo was their main food supply, the Lakota Sioux moved with the herds. So during what season did the Lakota Sioux hunt the buffalo? What season did they hunt the buffalo? If you said summer, you are correct. The buffalo provided Little Bear's people with fresh meat. The meat could also be dried and turned into pemmican. Pemmican could be stored for later use, especially in the cold winter months. In fact, almost every part of the buffalo had a special use for Little Bear's people. The buffalo provided them with warm fur. Its hair was used to make rope. Buffalo bones were used to make knives, axes, and hammers. Even toys were made from the bones of buffalo. Buffalo skin was also used to make teepees, clothes, bedding, and moccasins. Making these things was a job for women and girls. When he was younger, Little Bear had watched his grandmother, mother, and sisters while they worked. In using the hide of the buffalo to make clothing, it first had to be stretched and scraped. Then it was soaked and dried several times. After that, it was pulled and stretched to make it soft. So here you can see the buffalo hide being stretched. Finally, or lastly, it was ready to be cut and sewn into the things Little Bear's people needed. Little Bear's sister had made him his first pair of moccasins, which were made more beautiful with the addition of attractive beading art. Little Bear dressed quickly and then stepped outside of his family's teepee. The rising sun was now just a faint glimmer on the horizon. The horizon is the place off in the distance where the land seems to meet the sky. Even without the sun, it was already warm. Little Bear looked around. No one else had woken up yet. He was the only one, and this made the day seem even more important. Little Bear sniffed the air the way his grandfather did. He could not smell rain. He could smell the remains of the fires that had burned the night before. Buffalo meat had been cooked on those fires. Little Bear could still taste the succulent meat. So succulent means juicy and tasty. Little Bear made his way to where the horses that chased the buffalo grazed. Today he would ride his brother's horse when he went hunting. He would also carry a bow and arrow. His father had crafted his bow and arrow for him, though Little Bear had helped to shape the arrow tip. Hunting buffalo was not easy. These animals could run like the wind. It often took several men to take down one buffalo. Little Bear hoped that he would be brave. He wanted his father to be proud of him, the way he was proud of Little Bear's older brother. Little Bear stroked his brother's horse and whispered to him. He asked the horse to help him catch the buffalo. The horse nuzzled Little Bear as he spoke to him. Little Bear laughed as the horse's mane tickled his nose. Before long, the sun began to rise. Little Bear noticed that other people had woken up and were emerging from their teepees. He saw his mother begin to breathe life back into their fire. She, along with his sisters, would prepare food for the hunting party. So a hunting party is a group of people who go out together to hunt. Then it would be time to go. Little Bear made his way back to his teepee. He sat on the ground beside his mother. His mother smiled at him and tousled his hair. "You will be a brave buffalo hunter, just like your brother," Little Bear's mother said to him. Little Bear smiled at his mother. He knew she was wise and kind. He loved her very much. Before long, Little Bear was joined by his grandfather, father, and brother. When all the men were gathered around the fire, Little Bear's mother and sisters served them buffalo stew. It tasted good. Then it was time to go. The men and boys, including Little Bear, mounted their horses. As they rode out of their village, Little Bear looked back at his mother. She was still standing by the fire. She smiled at him, and then she put her hand on her heart. "She is telling me I will be a brave hunter," said Little Bear to himself. With that in mind, Little Bear smiled at his mother and then galloped off to hunt the buffalo for the very first time. And that is the end of today's story. You can go ahead and answer the questions.